Okay. Oh, and the other thing is, do you see me on your screen big, or am I?
Yeah.
I'm big.
Yeah. Yes, we've got your landscape, so we see you big. Yeah.
Okay, good. Whoops. There we go.
Perfect.
All right, so just start to ground into your body and whatever surface you're on, feeling maybe those sit bones, weight of the body. And just start to turn your attention inward. Noticing the breath. And as you turn your attention to the breath, notice if there's any impulse to change it or restrict it. And see if you can just allow the breath rather than organize it in any way. Allow it to happen. Allow it to take place. And as you soften the mind's control, maybe the breath begins to deepen. And maybe you feel more parts of your body expanding with each inhalation. And you can play a little bit with how the breath moves into those places if you like. And as you breathe, continuing to release the weight of the body towards the ground. And lengthening the spine from the tailbone out to the crown of the head. You grow a little taller in place, a little more space between each vertebrae. A little more space between each rib. And see as you hold this cage of the upper chest and rib cage, if the belly can simply fall back with the exhalation. Only to expand again with the inhalation. That length through the body, the upper body remains even when you exhale. The belly button reaching towards the spine. Okay, so let's transition onto the back. And just starting with constructive rest, so the knees will be bent. You can place your hands on your lower belly somewhere. And continue with the breathing, that soft, allowed breath. And feel how the fingers rise and fall on that surface of the belly. Just giving time and heart space for the body to soften and unwind any tension, any habitual constriction. Feeling how the back body is softening into the floor. And there might at first be some space between, for instance, your lower back and the floor, or maybe your shoulders and the floor. But as you release tension in the front of the body, everything starts to release into the ground. Find now the surface of the toes, each foot. Can you feel the skin just under the toes reaching towards the ground? The balls of the feet, the outer edges, and the heels. And noticing as you maybe press those different parts of the foot to the ground, how it impacts the ankles, maybe even the knees. And then releasing the feet. Just moving your focus and attention now to the hands at the groin or lower belly. We're going to start to do our cat-cow here, tilting the pelvis towards the feet. So just go slowly and feel the spine move in an articular fashion as the pelvis tips towards the feet and pours any tension downward. And then exhaling and bringing the pelvis back the other way. Stopping in neutral, but then continuing so that you turn the pelvis upward and feel the contraction through the belly in front of the body. So just taking some time to go between those two extremes, tilting the pelvis downward towards the feet, feeling the arch in the spine, the weight pour into the middle back, and then the other way, pelvis moving and tilting upward toward the head as the lower back presses into the floor. Core tightens at the front of the body. Maybe even the upper back leaves the floor a little bit. And just enjoying that sensation through the spine, through the hips. Taking your time. And start to ask yourself, where's the end point of the movement? So as you tilt downward towards the feet, where does the movement end? What's as far as you can go? And just hold there for a moment. And breathe. And then whenever you're ready, going back the other way, how far can you go? How deep can you contract with the pelvis tilting upward? And when you get to that end point, just hold and breathe. And just notice how it feels to breathe when you're contracted through the front of the body. Can you still allow the breath? Often when we contract, we forget to breathe or we hold back. Can you find a way to be in the contraction and still breathe? And then just continue to explore for yourself the two extremes. And really enjoy breathing fully. Notice how the breath becomes really the initiator of the movement. Rather than moving the body mechanically from the mind, it becomes more an organic movement that arises from the breath. Go ahead and rest in a neutral position. And just notice any sensations, any changes in the way the back body or front body feels. Maybe your lower back feels closer to the ground. Now we're going to start you can move your hands away from the body if you like. We're going to start to just roll to the edges of the feet, letting the knees drop one way. Try to keep the back square to the floor. So you might not drop your knees all the way at first. Feel how the core, the belly, can allow an emptying. Bring all that tissue of the belly upward towards the ribs as you lean your knees off to one side. And then passing through center and going the other way, just rolling to the edges of the feet, knees fall, back stays on the ground. And just note, in order to do that, maybe something has to press into the ground. Maybe as you lean left, the left side of the body pushes slightly inward to the ground. And maybe the right foot also presses a little bit into the ground. And then release. And don't over effort anything. Just kind of explore softly this idea of feeling the pressing in to the ground. And as you move like this, perhaps moving both knees, perhaps just dropping in one knee. Also remember to breathe and notice what the breath, how the breath is impacting the movement. Note that if you inhale as you reach the knee away from the trunk towards the bottom of the mat, there's this opening space to fill with air. With breath through that whole side body. Notice how the pushing in of the top leg or the top foot can help you reach that knee away, stretching your quadricep. And here, yes, your back has to peel away from the floor. So let whatever has to happen naturally instead of trying to force. Just as we did in the cat-cow, the tipping of the pelvis, try to discover for yourself what's the end point of this rocking of the legs, this windshield wiper of the knees. How far can you go into it? What's your end point? And can you hold that end point and breathe there? Going back and forth at your own pace, side to side. Finding your end point and taking a deep breath. And then coming back to a neutral stance with the feet standing. And take a moment to feel now how and if there's any new sensation in the body, maybe through the waist or the thighs. Now let's bring the arms to a cactus shape on either side of the body so their elbows are bent and right out from the shoulders. Flat on the ground. And from here, with our hands up towards the head, let's just lift the hands up towards the ceiling and all the way down towards the floor. Palms now down, pointing towards the feet. So what we're really doing here, we're just rotating at the shoulder. So feel how the shoulder rotates in its socket. Bringing the hands back up towards the ceiling and then down with the fingers pointing upward toward the head. Back and forth, just moving in this cactus shape. Feeling how that upper arm has to roll on the ground. from the inner arm to the outer arm. And try to, each end point, try to relax completely. And then start the next movement. And when you relax, use the breath to help that release. And if you'd like, you can start to alternate the arms. So one hand, the fingertips will point up towards the head. The other hand will drop down, fingers pointing towards the feet. And just alternate. So it's kind of like if you were in water, you would be paddling with your hands. And just note what's happening in the back body and through the shoulder blades as you move. Just a few more times. And then we'll rest with the hands, with the fingers pointing up, so cactus shape. Just let the fingers relax and curl towards the palms. Let's interlace the hands now behind the head. Just notice if your elbows and shoulders are comfortable to open out, or if you need to hold them up off the floor a little bit towards the head. Just notice where is most comfortable for you. And from here, we're going to begin the cat-cow, that tilting of the pelvis towards the feet. Breathing in. And then when we exhale and bring the pelvis back towards the head, we're going to lift the head up from the floor, letting it rest in the basket of the hands, just contracting the front of the body, and release. So breathing in when we tilt the pelvis towards the feet. And then the pelvis comes back towards the head, belly tightens, the front of the body contracts, and the head lifts as a result. But don't pick up the head, just let the head rest in the hands. Back and forth in your own pace. You're welcome to explore any kind of change that you want to bring to this movement. So maybe allowing the head to come towards the chin, towards the chest. Or maybe bringing the elbows in towards the ears. So just no rules. Go ahead and make it your own. And then release. Come into neutral again. You can release your hands as well. We're going to bring both knees into the chest. So just, oops, lost somebody. Take both of your knees in and just rock in any way you need to kind of settle through the lower back. We're going to go into our first hold. She's back. Okay. So yeah, we're going to go into our first hold, which is going to be a twist. And so this is the first place that if you have a cushion or block that you might want it, so that when you drop your knees off to the side, you can either rest both knees on a cushion, or you can put the cushion between your knees and use it that way. We're going to hold this for a few minutes, so I want you to be really comfortable and not feel like any of your limbs are kind of hanging from your joints. So that's why a support will help you release. And I'm going to get our egg timer. So your upper body can either be kind of one arm sort of resting on the other and you're turned toward that leg, or you can open the opposite arm away and rest your back on the floor. So whatever depth of a twist you want. And just check to see that your knees are even with your hips, or maybe even a little higher. And then just settle into your breath again. That allowing breath, uncontrolled, unrestricted. Really allow the parts of the body that are in contact with the ground to release and let go into the ground, into the support. So you don't have to hold anything up. And as you soften and become more comfortable here, you might want to deepen the stretch or raise that back arm up to the corner, or even turn the head to look away from the twist. And just note as you make adjustments, can you still breathe? If you'd like to add a little more, you can extend your top leg straight out so your heel reaches away from your body. Flexing the foot, and if it's too intense, just keep the knee bent a little bit. Or bring the leg back to rest. And again, just check in with the breath. Has it changed? Is it still free? And try to find a place where it can be free if you need to back up at all. If you are comfortable here, you can also rotate your ankle or point and flex your foot for a little more sensation through the leg. And then bend the knee back in, rest it on your prop again or your cushion or the other leg. And then slowly untwist. If your head's twisted, bring it back first. And then allow your legs back to neutral standing. Take a moment on your back. With your mind's eye, trace the impact of that twist on your tissues. Where do you feel the impact? On what side? Now we'll go to the other side. So bringing the knees to the chest again. Just rock on the back a bit in case anything needs to readjust. And then when you're ready, you can let your knees fall to the other side, having your prop ready, placing it wherever's comfortable. And then either letting the upper body close in the same direction as your knees, or opening your upper body so that the opposite arm reaches away from you. Again, checking that your knees are right out from your hips or a little higher. And allow the body to surrender to the ground. Relaxing even the soles of the feet. And just follow your breath. As your body continues to soften and release to this position, you can start to reach that back arm upward towards the corner if you like, and you can turn your head towards that arm, looking away from the knees. Noticing if that's changed the breath. And if you find constriction, seeing if you can breathe more deeply into that tightness and release it. But also not pushing the body to go deeper or further than is comfortable. And then if you'd like, you can extend that top leg away from the body, pushing through the heel without locking your knee. You can still allow that leg to rest on the support. You don't have to hold it up. And at any point, you can do some pointing and flexing of that foot or circling of the ankle if you want to deepen your sensation. Regardless of what you're doing, staying aware of your breath and any changes that happen. Especially if you hold the breath or it becomes restricted. Once again, just rest both legs, one on top of the other, knees bent. One last deep breath here, softening everything. And then rolling back onto your back, head first and then the knees. Once again, just feeling any impact that that posture has created. Noting sensation of the body, but also any changes in how the mind feels and how the nervous system feels. And we'll take your time, but you're going to come onto your bellies. So just let your legs rest on the floor about a foot apart or about hip width apart. And let your hands be wherever is comfortable, somewhere by your head. And however you need to have your head, so if you need to rest your head on your hands or on a cheek, or you prefer to have your forehead to the ground, whichever way is fine. Just feel your body here in this position. Up to now, we've had the front of the body facing up and the back body facing the ground. So now feel how the back body feels kind of open to the air. And the front body now feels protected and supported by the ground. Feeling how the breath moves the body towards the ground on the inhale. Just kind of a lift through the back body at the same time. So 2 movements. Feel the front body drop to the floor on the inhale as the back body lifts. When you're ready, I'm going to ask that you bring your head forward so that you're looking straight down at the mat. If you would like, you can rest your forehead on your hands with your nose pointing straight down. Or you can rest directly with your forehead on the ground if your nose isn't too big. What we're going to do here is we're going to do cat-cow, and I don't think we've ever done cat-cow on the belly before. So this will be a new exploration. So I want you to think about tilting the pelvis towards, now think about this for a second. We tilt the pelvis towards the feet, and we tilt the pelvis towards the head when we're on our back. It's the same thing when we're on our belly, but it's going to feel a little different and strange. So just start to arch and flatten the back and feel how that's moving through from this position. So as you tilt the pelvis, what would be towards the head, the belly contracts, and it might even lift off the floor and lift the sacrum upward as if it had a string attached towards the ceiling. And when you tilt the pelvis towards what would be the feet, then there's maybe a lift. The pelvis, the pubic bone moves towards the ground. Maybe the gluteals contract. And you might even find that your upper body lifts off the floor into a little back bend. So those are the two points we're moving between. So again, as you kind of have that string that's pulling your sacrum up, you might feel your thighs, maybe even the tops of your knees start to push into the ground a little bit. And there is contraction, there's effort. And then releasing that, the pelvic, or the pubic bone rather, tilts in. You might feel the lower legs, maybe even parts of the feet wanting to leave the floor. So just noticing whatever you feel. We're going to add another element here in a moment. So if it's comfortable, I'm going to invite you to bring one knee out to the side. So you're just going to hitch it up like you're a lizard with a kind of bent leg out to the side, or a frog. But it's just a half frog. One leg still straight. You can stay here, or if you would like to, you can come onto your forearms. And then just see if you can get a little tilt of the pelvis towards the ground, and then release. So bringing that pubic bone towards the mat. You might feel a lengthening through the long leg, a little bit of lengthening through that groin on the long side. Each time, be sure that you release any contraction completely. This is a good opportunity to really use the core and really pull all of that tissue in and up. Just a couple more times on that side. Your elbows should be kind of right where your shoulders are. Or perhaps even a little in towards the center. And then just bring the trunk down to the floor and release that leg back. You can shake through the legs, kind of rock side to side a little bit. I'm going to flip around so I'm still facing you guys. So we'll do the other side. So bringing that other knee up to the side as far as is comfortable. Try to have your foot right down from your knee so it's not towards the leg, it's just straight down. And give yourself a moment there to adjust, and when you're ready, you can come up to your forearms. Check that your elbows are under your shoulders, and you don't want to sink through the shoulders. You want to kind of keep yourself up, so it takes a little bit of, like I said, core work and effort to keep up through the shoulders. The back body's kind of mushrooming open and back. And then you can start to just bring the pelvis towards the ground. And this is like, I'm hardly moving at all, especially on this side because it's my tighter hip. So you might not feel like you're getting much movement, and that's okay. But do pull up on your core each time you contract. Just bring all that core tissue in and up. Releasing each time completely. You might feel the front hip bone, both sides, leave the ground as you do this. And just one or two more times, and then you can bring your trunk back down. And then just extend that leg back, long, and rock. Rock on your hips side to side. You're going to take a moment just to relax, feel the effects of that, any new sensations. And then from here, we're going to push ourselves up and back into a child's pose of whatever variation you choose. So whatever child's pose you're in, just focus on your breath. Notice how the posture might constrict parts of your breathing, and see if you can find a way to bring the breath into that constriction. Just letting the back soften now. Tailbone releasing towards the heels in whatever posture you're in. Allowing the chest to drop towards the floor. And then when you're ready, just transitioning yourself into a downward facing dog, so that can be in any manner that you choose. And as you hold that position, see if you can imagine if you were building like a fire and you wanted to leverage two sticks at an angle against each other so that they stood up, and you could create this tent for which you could build the fire underneath. See if you can get that sense of those two sticks that are resting against each other. So it's your hands all the way up to the tailbone as one side, and your feet all the way up to tailbone as the other side. So they sort of meet and rest against each other at the tailbone. And then try coming onto your toes, and then lower just one heel, and then onto your toes again, and lower the other heel. And you can come down at any time, of course, so don't feel like you have to stay. Good, and make sure that you're breathing wherever you are, if you're up or down. And then you can rest. And then I'm going to invite you onto your backs again when you're ready. So before we go into Shavasana, just take one knee into the chest and lengthen the other leg. And then just do that on each side, kind of lengthening through the groin. And then you can rest for Shavasana. So if you want a blanket or pillow or anything for comfort. So just releasing any remaining contraction or tension in the body now. Use the breath to soften more and more. And notice how this stillness feels in the body. And notice how even though there's an external stillness, there's still the heart that's pumping, the blood circulating, neurons firing. The body is truly constant motion. So my question for you is, what is stillness? And if a living body is never still, then what is it that can be still? So I'm going to share a chant with you. And you're welcome, because it's very easy, you're welcome to actually sound it yourself as you're laying there. Or you can just listen. I will say there's always a benefit to making the vibration in your own body. The chant, the words are Om, Om Namo. So Om being the sound of all consciousness, all existence. Namo being name. Om Namo Narayana. And it means resting place. So there are two things that I'd like you to do here. One is just to enjoy the sound of the mantra. And then the second thing is, when I stop chanting, to enjoy the silence that follows. This is a mantra for peace, health, and happiness for all. And it goes like this. Om Namo Narayana. Om Namo Narayan. 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 Om Namo Narayan. Namo Namo Narayan. Om Namo Narayan. Namo Namo Narayan. Om Namo Narayana. Om Namo Narayan. Resting in the vibration of the sacred mantra. Okay, you can begin to prepare for some movement back to the fingers and toes. Pressing different parts of the body against the floor. You can take a long, deep stretch.
Unmuted.
Okay. Ian and Steph, do you want to unmute yourself and we'll tune out together?
There you go.
Bring the hands together and rub them. And bring them to the chest, pressing thumbs into the sternum. Breathing in nice and deep. Hold the breath for a moment. Release the breath and any tension. And then let's breathe in with Om Shanti. Om
Shanti.
Shanti. Shanti. Om.
Shanti. Om. Shanti.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks for doing it today. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Pleasure. Good luck tomorrow at the
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.